Hello, this is Darren and I'm an internet marketer and web designer at Ilkeston Web Design, serving Derby and Nottingham small businesses. In this video, I'm going to be highlighting a couple of things that a lot of small business websites have so far failed to implement. And what they failed to do is clearly include a website privacy policy and a cookie opt-out button. And if you don't know what that means, then that's okay, that's quite common. Don't worry, but please do watch and listen closely, because what I'm going to be showing you next is a mandatory requirement by law, and if you don't take the required steps, you could potentially get on the wrong side of the new data protection laws that are being rolled out by the European Union. The UK Information Commissioner's Office, known as the ICO, has published guidelines on what you can do to take appropriate steps in complying with the law. So if you're a small business, please check out the ICO.org.uk website for more information. Now, before I talk more in detail, let's just take a brief overview of the two main things you need to be concerned about if you're a small business and if you have a website. Now, firstly, you need a cookie opt-out button, otherwise known as cookie consent, and this is where you give a website visitor the chance to opt out of any kind of tracking software that monitors their activity on your website. Cookies are small files that are downloaded to a user's computer, and they are designed to track website activity and remember preferences as set by the user. Now, these files are totally legit. They've been around for years and years. Why there's the ICO and the European Union are all of a sudden making a fuss over cookies, I don't know, because cookies are there to improve visitor experience. No personal data about a user is ever transmitted to the webmaster. The website user remains anonymous, and I think it's really important to make that clear that personal data is never transmitted. So if you do have any concerns as a website user yourself, it's very easy for you to change or reject cookies from within your browser settings. So you would go to, let's have a look, history, and you will go to clear recent history, and you can choose what exactly remains and what is wiped from your cache. So you can deselect cookies, or you can select it. Active logins, offline, you can delete any of this. This is Mozilla Firefox. It's different, slightly different for Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, and any of the other browsers. I'll just give you a quick example of cookie consent and how exactly cookie consent works. Okay, so watch what happens when I go to my website. This is presently offline. This is an offline sandboxed website, but I have the cookie consent button installed. So watch this. Right, can you see this at the bottom of the screen? We use cookies to ensure you get the best experience on our website, and then the user is given the opportunity to change their settings. So at present I'm using social media and Google Analytics. These tick boxes, if these boxes are unticked, then that will disable the use of cookies on my website. If you run a website in the UK, you're actually allowed to assume that cookie consent is already given. So all you need to do really is give the visitor the chance to easily change their settings and specifically reject or change cookie settings for your website. Previously, the law was that you had to get them to opt in, but now, after frenzied debate in European Parliament, presumably it's been decided that opting out is adequate. So that's better, really. It's easier for both webmaster and for the consumer of the information. On this website also, when it loads, here we go. We use cookies to ensure you get the best experience. And on this website there are adverts, These adverts that you're looking at here don't use cookies. They are just adverts which I have designed and implemented. But this advert here, Just Eat, Order Online, that's Google AdSense, and that uses cookies. Now there are a few ways to install cookie consent opt-out toolbars, and the best way to do it is by having a subtle pop-up that appears along the bottom of the website, as I have demonstrated to you here, or you can have it pop out from the top. It's up to you. If you have limited web design knowledge and you want to do this yourself, then do so at your own risk. That's up to you. If you're confident and you understand CSS classes and how to modify basic JavaScript code snippets, then that's fine, and I would recommend a free cloud service from SiteBeam called Cookie Consent. Here we go, it's sitebeam.net/cookie consent/code, or just click get the code, the blue button there, and they even provide a video showing you exactly how to install cookie consent. You will need to modify the JavaScript of your Google Analytics code snippet, or your Google AdSense code snippet, or indeed any other JavaScript code snippet which installs cookies onto the user's browser. All you need to do is follow these instructions, select whichever type of cookies that you're using on your website. If you're a small business, the chances are you're just using analytics or perhaps social media as well. You won't have any advertising on there, obviously, because you're advertising your services, not a third party. So you would select, say, analytics and social media, click continue. Implied, set cookies and allow visitors to opt out. If you're in the UK, it's okay to select this option. Explicit, no cookies will be set until a visitor consents. That's an opt-in as opposed to opt-out, but we don't need that, we just need opt-out. And you've got various styling options as well. You can probably, if you know CSS, you can probably style the CSS a little bit more. Show feature options. Now that's a good idea. I'd leave that like as it is. Show the banner on every page until consent is gained. Show banner for visitors within the EU. Well, I think it's probably a good idea to just leave it and have it display to anybody in the world. Do you use server-side scripts which need to access the approved cookies? Leave that the way it is. Yeah, that's fine. Use SSL. You only need that if you're processing online payments or you have security certificates. So you can go through all of this. Let's see. It's a good idea to probably enter your email and subscribe to Cookie Consent, so if there are any major changes to their service, they will let you know. And that will probably help you to stay one step ahead of the law should any changes be made. So subscribe and get any important information directly from SiteBeam and Cookie Consent. So I'm going to skip this because I've done that already. And this is what you need to paste into your website. You paste it just before the closing head tag in your HTML. Once you've done that, you will need to find any JavaScript elements that I've already mentioned. So here is what JavaScript looks like. This is Google AdSense, so this is what I paste into my websites and advertising displays. What you have to do is change text type to plain, like this, and here as well, where it says JavaScript, you change it to plain, and then you need to add a CSS class. So let me find you an example where I've actually done this already. Here's one I made earlier. See this here? This is a JavaScript Google AdSense code snippet, and as you can see, text is plain, class is CC on consent inline advertising. Now that was provided on the SiteBeam Cookie Consent website, They provide all of the code snippets that you need. So I'm going to leave that with you. This is not a tutorial on how to install the cookie consent. This is just a heads up that it needs to be done. Let's talk about the privacy policy. The privacy policy is just a legal disclaimer, and this is where you provide disclosure regarding what data you collect, what data you store, and what data you process. If you take online payments, you need to mention whoever the payment processor is. You need to make sure you give details of any valid security measures like SSL certificates. If you take inquiries by email and you store that information in a database, most people do, you need to make sure that that's clear as part of your privacy policy. If you're using Google Analytics tracking software, social media embedded widgets, or third-party advertising networks, these all use cookies, and those cookies need to be declared as part of your privacy policy. Another important part of a privacy policy is to make sure you don't share user data with third parties. So make it clear that third parties are not privy to any data, phone numbers, names, addresses, that sort of thing. If you have an email marketing list, tell the users of your website that you will only send them information if they have asked for it or given express permission. Now typically the privacy policy, this applies to blogs as well, not just business websites. The privacy policy usually appears here at the bottom, and that should be on every page of the website. So you should be able to click that and go through to a web page, and explain exactly what information you collect, the use of cookies, use of information, etc. The same can be found here in the footer of the Ilkeston web design website. Information we collect, use of cookies. You can usually get these privacy policies as a template online and then modify it accordingly, but just make sure that it's compliant with disclosure. I think the ICO, now the ICO have a video on their website. They have a lot of information to go through as it happens. Here we go, we've got guidance, index, data protection, privacy, and electronic communications, and they talk in detail about what exactly you need to do. There's a lot of PDF documents to go through here, so I do recommend that you take a look at as much of this information as possible. If you can't look at all of it, at least look at the small business section, because that is probably what applies to you if you're a sole trader, self-employed, or obviously a small business. Whenever you update your privacy policy, it might be a good idea to write something like policy last updated on, and then give the date. If you ever get audited by the ICO in the event of a complaint, you can demonstrate that you are compliant. What the ICO are more concerned about with regards to data protection is what they would call systematic failings, where a business or an organization are either deliberately abusing data protection and consumer privacy, or they're just being incompetent, plain incompetent. Now, if you cause serious distress and damage, I say distress in inverted commas and damage in inverted commas, both of those words are quoted terms from the ICO Monetary Penalty Guidelines PDF. If you're causing distress and damage, you could face a fine between £1,000 and £500,000. I wouldn't panic, because any financial penalty is usually contingent on the financial resources of a business or individual, and a small business who have, for example, seriously messed up could get fined around £1,000 as I understand it at present. But a small business committing a misdemeanor who is usually and otherwise careful and competent and of good standing will hopefully just get a slap on the wrists and a chance to correct any mistakes. Don't quote me on that. I'm obligated to say I'm not a trained lawyer or solicitor. I'm not legally qualified to dispense legal advice, so please don't construe what I've talked about in this video as legal advice. There's still a lot of speculation surrounding these laws, but what I can advise you do is that you conduct some of your own research, contact the UK's ICO, Information Commissioner's Office, which is ico.org.uk, and ask for more details. Look at the numerous PDF documents and guidelines on the website. What I'm looking at right now is the guidance index, data protection, privacy and electronic communications, and here there is a link that says monetary penalties, and this links to a PDF talking about fines and financial penalties. So this is something worth looking at because it affects you. So I hope you found that useful. Please do look into your website and check to see if you've got the privacy policy and cookie consent opt-out button. If that's not something you take care of, it's probably a responsibility that will fall to your webmaster or web designer. It's their responsibility to ensure that the website is fully and legally compliant. If you're an Ilkeston web design client, then I've already taken steps to implement this. So go to your website now that I've created for you, and you will see that there's a privacy policy and the cookie consent opt-out button at the bottom of the page. If you can't see it, clear your browser cache, in other words, wipe your cookies, reload the page, and then you will see that the button does indeed appear at the bottom. Okay, thanks very much, and bye for now.